Hey everyone, this is LYS from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast.
And welcome one and all to EduSteps, the online mentoring podcast powered by Laddering Your Success. I'm LYS, co-founder of Laddering Success, and I'm honored to be joined by my fellow co-founder and LYS creator, Festus Amoye. Festus, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well, except for these technical difficulties. You know what I'm saying? Everything else is gravy. Everything else
It's
is gravy.
about the principalities, the technicalities.
You know?
It's all good, man. You know, the beautiful thing about it is, man, I heard this a couple of years ago, and it stuck with me. I don't know what I was reading. It said, if there's a solution to a problem, there's no need to worry, because guess what? You know the solution. Just go out there and get the solution. If there's no solution to a problem, guess what? There's nothing to worry about because there's no solution to the problem. So you just wasting your time.
That is true. That is a good cure for worry.
Yeah, man. And when I heard it, I was just like, wow, man, that is legit. That's legit. And of course, as always, we are blessed to be joined once again by the future Dr. Jamark Crawford. Jamark, how you doing today?
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm doing all right.
Awesome. It's always great to hear that wise voice. All right. And of course, last but not least, the one, the only Daniel Clayton Hill has not joined us yet, but he will be joining us from the Hill very soon. Okay. So now let's dive into today's topic. This is kind of like the third part in a topic that we've been discussing or we've been going over for the last 2 weeks. And so we're going to end it this week, but today we're going to be talking about tips for mentors to assess their strengths and identify students who could benefit from their guidance. And so you're right, Fisher, that was a long title. It was long just me saying it. I guess it's different typing it and saying it out loud. But what made me think about this is 2024, I think there's a lot of folks out there who really want to get in and help people and mentor and guide and give advice where needed. But when you're getting into that, it's kind of hard to go out and to do it, because a lot of us are like, I don't know how people are going to receive me. I don't know if people are going to take the way I kind of operate. They're going to take offense to it, this, that, and the other. And so these are just some things that we can do, some tips, some things that we can kind of ask ourselves to help us as we go along the journey of mentoring others, right? So this also falls in line with like be no do, the process that we started here at Laddering Your Success. And so all I want to do is I just want to go off and ask some questions that you can kind of ask yourself as you're going along this journey. And then we're going to tell some stories about how mentors have impacted us and how we have impacted others as mentors. I think it's one of the first things as a teacher it's one of our first roles. As a teacher, you are, what's that term? You are modeling, there it is. You are modeling what success looks like as an adult to a certain extent, right? You're working in the field, hopefully you're passionate about it and you're leading others, right? And so it's a great way to start. So if you do have questions about being a mentor, here are some things you can ask yourself. Off the top, what topics or areas do I have expertise in? I think that's a great way to help you get started, right? What skills am I known for? Am I a good communicator? Am I a good leader? Am I good at problem solving, right? What values and experiences can I share that resonate with others? I think about LYS, I think, anytime you listen to Festus' story, I think that experience for anyone resonates with them, right? Because if you have your parents, you think about if you didn't have them and how your life would go, right? And for those who don't, there's a certain level of understanding that comes with that, right? Whether you lost one or both, okay? What personal qualities make me a good listener, confidant, and motivator? I know as a teacher, that's one of those things that I definitely had to have. And it's, you had to have those qualities, but also you had to use a lot of wisdom with those things, because students will come to you and they'll tell you very personal things. And you may be the only person that they ever tell that thing to. And so you have to be someone who can take that and understand the responsibility that comes with it. Because for a young person to be able to find that trust in you, to be able to tell you something like that, it says a lot, right? And so you've already built a certain relationship, a certain understanding, certain level of trust there. So you don't want to lose that. And think about the feedback loop. Seek feedback from your colleagues, friends, or past mentees, right? I think one of the coolest things is around COVID, one of the first books that I read, during COVID, I think the first book I read was The Passionate Teacher, which was amazing. That book was awesome. The Passionate Teacher. If you're a teacher and you want to get a foundation or a really good understanding of what it means to really work in your field, read The Passionate Teacher. But the second book I read was The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Festus highly recommended that book. In fact, Festus gave me his copy of the book, and it took everything in me to not write in the book notes and things like that. But the reason why is because it was so profound, it was so powerful. Like I said, there's 21 irrefutable. That means when I hear irrefutable, that means like they're absolutely necessary. You can't live without this particular law and the aspect of leadership. And one of the first things they had you do in that book was to talk to your friends, to talk to colleagues, and ask them particular questions about things regarding leadership. And it was so cool to see the feedback that came in. So these are things that you can also do to keep fresh in your mind as you're going along that journey. Some questions you can ask them. What are my strengths in a supportive role? What specific skills or expertise could benefit mentees? How do I communicate and build rapport effectively? What areas could I develop further to be a better mentor, right? Formal assessments, big, big, big. I have not done one of these in a while. I need to do it real soon. The Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is, I mean, it's been around for so long. I mean, goodness gracious, when I was bartending, I used to have a really good friend who I discussed this with, and how we change within those type indicators as you grow in experience, as you go through, unfortunately, trauma and things like this affect you. You know, your E may turn to an I, you know what I mean? So you can go through these things and you can use these different tools, assessments, to identify your inherent talents and preferences, okay? Festus, Jamar, talk to me. What are some of these things that you're thinking about? Did it spark anything in you? Did you think about any of these things when you're thinking about mentoring or helping people in particular fields or things like that?
Yeah, I think you said some pretty profound things, which are just true, is like assessing what you have to offer from a mentor perspective, and then also assessing the person you're trying to mentor, who is the mentee. You know, because I think this is the thing I find that's interesting. Even though you have good advice and good information, it's not meant for everybody, you know? And I think sometimes when you have that like pearl and you're like, oh, this thing is sweet, you know what I'm saying? This is sweet. I'm gonna rock the world with this. And then you get out there and then you find out that like other people don't think it's that sweet. And that's where I think, you know, there's a little bit of a curveball. And I think on the flip side of that, as a mentee, and this is what I'm seeing a lot of now, and I'm not quite sure how to gauge it or understand it. And that's a lot of mentees they're seeming to be choosy about who their mentor is. And I think that's a whole situation. And I'm gonna kind of lay that out. You know, you have people who can benefit from mentors, from people pouring into their life, you know, sharing wisdom, sharing insight, sharing expertise. But from a mentee perspective, they're kind of looking at it like, oh, this person's not my same skin color. This person's not from my neighborhood. This person's not from, you know, XYZ, whatever it is. And they keep looking at what the person is not versus what the person is and what the person is doing. I think that's a big mistake, right? Is, somebody can really bless your life if you're open to it. Again, one of my first business mentors was to me, I thought it was kind of just an unlikely situation in life. And shout out to Frank Wells. Frank, if you ever see this, big ups to you, because to be honest with you, without Frank giving that first nudge, I don't even think LYS would kind of be where it is. And Frank was probably 45-year-old white guy, and I'm maybe 26, and we met one day for coffee, and then he's like, hey, let's go get some pizza, because I told him I used to deliver pizza. I know some good pizza spots. He said, okay, well, and we just go different places and get pizza. And so I forever remember this. It's what partially changed my mind significantly about business. Is Frank just started up a business, and he was telling me about business started. And, he says, yeah, I started this appliance business. I said, appliance business? He said, yeah, because I had a different business, and that business packed up and moved to China, my customers. So he said, people can't send their washing machine to China to get fixed. So I said, well, yeah, that's true. So then he did the business for about a month, and I was picking his brain. I'm just curious. Hey man, do you know how to fix washing machines? Nah, I don't know. So I said, how do you start a washing machine business if you don't know how to fix washing machines, fridges, different appliances? He said, well, I needed to get mine fixed, and a guy came over to fix mine, and I was paying him $75 for something that took 10, 15 minutes. And I wondered, I wonder how many other people had this problem. So he started asking the guy some questions, and after he asked the guy a couple questions, he said, well, if I started a business, would you come work for me? So basically, he just hired that guy who was fixing his stuff to start his business. And then the thing that was like, wow, that's really impressive. Then he goes on a little bit, and then he says, oh man, we start talking about, how much money he made. And, he had this business like 2 months, 3 months. He said, yeah, man, I made $6,000 last month. I was like, wow, you made $6,000? He said, yeah. I said, how many jobs did you do? He said, probably about 10 or 12. I said, wait a second. You're telling me that you only worked 12 times in a year? Not 12 days, 12 times. And you didn't even do the work and made $6,000? He said, yeah. He said, well, this is how I do it. I split the money with the guy. I go find a business, blah, blah, blah. And he broke it down. I said, oh man, this is the secret. You know what I'm saying? And so I say all that to say, if I was closed-minded to who mentored me and who I went and ate pizza with, and you know what I mean? I would never had that experience. And so from a mentor's perspective, I would say this: you never know who a good mentee is going to be. They want it. And so, I think you just have to be able to ask the right questions to really determine if that's a thing you guys want to enter into. And then from a mentee perspective, is just be open-minded about who that mentor could be. So yeah, that's all I got. Jamark?
Oh, real quick before you go, Jamark, I wanted to welcome the one, the only Daniel Clayton Hill. Daniel, thank you so much for coming down your hill to come and join us here. How you doing today?
Good. First of all I heard was 6,000. 12 times. I actually need his program. You know what I'm saying? I can teach 12 days, make 6 G's. Hey, let's get in, baby. Glad to be here, though. Go ahead, Crawford.
Awesome. As always, man. Yeah, go ahead, Crawford.
I was going to piggyback off of Festus, and basically it seemed like he was talking about the relationship between the mentor and mentee. And one of the things I think he touched on that's important is that alignment between the mentor and the mentee. And the reason why that stands out to me is because when that alignment is not there, there could be strained with that mentor-mentee relationship. And that's basically the experience that I currently have. So that's what stood out to me. And so as a teacher, the mentees do not get to pick their mentors, right? It's kind of like assigned to them type of situation. And, they come ask me to be a mentor to someone. I'm like, all right, cool. So they kind of like volunteered me. Already signed me up for it or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. And what I'm realizing is, I'm thinking, oh shoot, I'm gonna be a great mentor. I got all the tools to hand out. I got all the jewels. I got all the sauce to give this person and everything for them to be a successful first year teacher, I'm gonna say, because that comes with its own struggles, right? And so I meet my mentee and everything like that. Seems like a cool person, but where we are in alignment between work ethic and passion and other things like that when it comes to teaching are completely different. Therefore, my mentor is not able to receive the offerings that I can give him, and it does not translate into that person's classroom. And the interesting thing is that, it gets back to me that, this particular mentee doesn't feel the support. I'm like, okay, cool. So this particular mentee doesn't feel the support. Let me see what I can do to better support that particular mentee. So I'm like, okay, great. Let me do what I can do. Boom. Let me turn it up a notch. I turn it up a notch. And what I realize is that people have to be ready to receive. You can't force anybody to receive, regardless of what their point of view may be. Oh, I'm not having the support. You can't receive the support if you're not ready to receive it. If you're not ready to do the work that's needed to be guided, you're not ready for this mentorship. And that's something that I had to not take personally, take a step back and be like, you know what? This ain't on me. I'm trying to do the best I can do to give certain things. The only thing that I haven't done is the work for the person, and that's what I'm not going to do. So I realize it's like that alignment has to be there. That alignment has to be there. Like it's things like, sir, you can't get where you're trying to go if you're coming in 5 minutes before you need to report to work, coming in asking me, what do I do? Sir, I can't do it in 5 minutes, but I can sit with you and try to set up a meeting. Hey, let's stay after work so I can lay these things out and we can go over certain things. And then when that day come and you clock out, you shoot out the building, I can't help you. So to me, what stood out, what Festus was talking about, was like that alignment.
Absolutely, man. I think that alignment is key. Oh, go ahead, Festus. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say that's a full bar right there. That's a full bar. Is people have to be ready to receive, man. So 100% with you on that.
I think when we tend to think about like mentor mentee, we tend to think of like adult age and younger person, right? Like school age. But I want to make this clear. This goes across all ages. This is a full encompassing event, right? We're talking about school age to 90s, really, right? So I just want to make sure we keep that in mind. All of us have benefited from mentors. I think all of us are still benefiting from mentors, or at least have a relationship where you are a mentor or a mentee. And it was so funny, Festus, I was actually thinking about our leadership meeting. For those of you who have a small business and you've got at least two, if you have at least two people under your business and you're one of those people, you should be doing leadership training. I have to tell you, I see the absolute power in doing like leadership training. What does that mean? Leadership, do you know what leadership training, Festus, can I tell them what leadership training is for us at LYS? I'm such a fan, I'm sorry.
Most stuff, bro, most stuff, go ahead.
So what leadership training, this is basically the LYS Leadership Academy within LYS, you know what I'm saying? What we're doing is we're currently reading the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. We're going through a video series that John Maxwell has, where we put in our thoughts on the different laws and we discuss them as a group. We go over essentially case studies that we've gone through experiences that you know our members have gone through, and we just use those opportunities to grow. And you can see the excitement, the enjoyment. You can see the growth that every single person in the team has when we have these deep, thoughtful conversations with each other. And that's a mentee mentor, you know, relationship right there. You know, you don't even see it. And so I just have to throw that out there. Of course, you know, if you have a school, you know, if you work at a school, if you're an administrator, if you work in admin, you know, that's definitely something you got to make sure you're looking into, not only for yourself, but those who work under you. Okay, so we talked about some.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
What do I get information about this leadership thing we got going on? What do we find that information if we're interested into that?
Well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll throw it out there, but the only thing is, it's Friday mornings at what time? It's like 30 minutes, 8:15 or 30.
Yeah, 8:15, 8:45. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But we'll shoot it to you.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so in regards to what Crawford said, and to so many others that are mentors or mentees, I think there's a couple things that you got to do in order to build a successful relationship in regards to mentor-mentee relationships. One thing that I've learned now is the importance of setting clear expectations and goals for the mentorship relationship. I think that is super, super key. That kind of lays it all out there. Right? What exactly are you looking for? What exactly are you looking to get from this relationship? Right? What exactly are you looking for me to give to you from this relationship? Establishing effective communication and mutual respect, within the relationship. That's a really, really powerful thing. You got to know some tools and techniques for mentors to provide guidance, support, and encouragement. So you do kind of have to know your mentee a little bit. I always like to say, what's their learning style, right? What's the best way for them to learn? Are they visual? Are they audible? Are they kinesthetic? Are they analytical? What's their best way of taking in information? And you want to create opportunities for your mentees to actively engage in the relationship and make the most out of that mentorship experience, right? I think that's key. Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. Thanks so much for listening to LYS. I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to the parents. That's right, mom and dad. Parents, prepare your child for their best educational fit after high school with our comprehensive LYS Parents Guidebook. Our helpful guide includes a range of activities designed to help you better understand your child's unique gifts and abilities. Additionally, we provide valuable insights into the student loan debt crisis and offer practical tips on how to avoid accumulating large amounts of debt. Our ebook also includes a wealth of information on scholarships, grants, and payment exemptions that can help guide your child towards a bright and successful future. With our expert guidance, you can rest assured that your child is well prepared to make informed decisions about their education and career path. Don't let your child's future be in jeopardy. Invest in their future today by downloading the LYS Parents Guidebook. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to the show, because you know it's some good topics. Real quick before I open it up to everyone, one of the things I had thought about was, goodness, what was I thinking about? I was thinking about this. One of the things that I had struggled with is, you know, when I first started teaching, I really wanted to help the kids, but I always felt like there were some kids who were just turned off to me, you know, who were just like, you know, you're talking, you already know. We as humans know when people are I'm not going to say into you, but are genuinely accepting of what you say, right? Just you as a person. Tuning you out, right? So just think about, all right, so if you can see me in this camera, right? For those of you who are hearing me, just imagine I'm looking right at you. And now imagine me turning my head to the right, leaning back, bringing my head back, and just looking at anything except for your face. You already know, you can already tell the physical motions, right? The physical attributes of someone who's not paying attention to you. And I think with this generation of kids, it's the hardest to read, because it'll be one of those kids who looks like they're absolutely not paying any attention to you, who at the end will come to you and be like, yeah, you know, I really like what you were saying. Cool. You guys have like a meeting I could come to? I'm like, bro,
bro, that acting class you took, I need the number, because that is spot on. What's going on? It's like, what?
I mean, he was going, and then just be like, it's cool. It's like your purpose and stuff. You gotta know, it's cool. I like it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's what's up. I thought you were gonna punch me. I couldn't tell. I really couldn't tell. And so one of the things I had to learn, and this is one of those laws, it's the law of intuition. And I can't remember which law this was, but I think it was a law. It may have been the law of influence. It was a law of influence. If you are your true authentic self, right? If you are just who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, those who want to come will come. It is not your job to reach. We have this thing. That was my thing. Oh, I want to reach everybody. Baby, no, you don't. Go ahead,
bro. And no, I'm just gonna say on that point, I think that's something that our society tries to push on us, is that, and I think it's part of this whole like tolerance / DEI movement, which again, I'm all for diversity, I'm all for equity, I'm all for inclusion. But I think the thing is, as there are limits to that. And what do I mean by limits to that? There are some people who they have their biases. Like there's like this kind of talk is like, oh, nobody's biased. And it's like, no, people have their biases. They come with their past experiences. And as they come with their past experiences, and this is actually how we develop mental frameworks and lenses, they put those things out there. So there's some people who they're going to look at me and they're going to think big black man, scary. I need to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I need to be okay with that. Now, it does not mean that I need to force myself on them, because it's just more and more triggering for them. So that means whatever I'm offering, they're just not going to get. And let's all be okay with that. You know what I mean? And I think the other thing is like, people, and it kind of goes the reverse, is people think, oh, you come from the same environment, same hood, same this, same that. And oftentimes you had to be the antithesis of that to get out of that situation. So there was people who, when you were younger, they call you, oh, you smart, you this, you that, or you talk white, you this, you that, you know what I'm saying? And so that relationship then gets tainted. So maybe you don't want to reach back out to every last person in your neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, hopefully the right person comes along for them. But I think sometimes we push and strain ourselves to either be accepted by everybody or force everybody to try to accept us. And what that just causes unnecessary stress. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate to say this, but when I was in youth group, I would be like, don't come. Don't come. I'm not trying to force Jesus on you. If your parents say you have to come, then that's between you and your parents. But don't come in here disrupting and disturbing, because some people are trying to learn. Okay, some people are trying to get what we're talking about and what we're giving. You know what I mean? And just in life in general, you know what I'm saying? Like, we did the LYS the other week, and I'm like, yo, put the thing in your phone. And it's like, oh, you want to put it? Okay. I wish I could just take my game back. You know what I'm saying? Just give the game back. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I dropped some sauce. But anyway, I'm rambling now.
No, absolutely. I totally remember that. I'm gonna open up Crawford or Hill if y'all wanted to jump in and touch on these before I go. We good? Okay. Real quick. So I wanted to talk about, and you brought up a really good point there, Festus. It's, I guess, do we call this and something like an unfortunate, I don't know if you want to, you know what? I'll call it a blessing in disguise. I will call it a blessing in disguise because of biases, because of the way we were raised, because of this, that, and the third. People create narratives in their minds, right? About people, places, things, right? If you ask someone from New York, the average New Yorker, what do you think the average person in Texas looks like or does? Well, they'd be like, oh, they probably talk like this. They got a cowboy hat on. They drink lots of whiskey and they got lots of guns. Probably say something like that. When in reality, the gun part is probably true, but everything else is probably pushing the right. You could question those things. And so I thought about someone who I consider to be a mentor my first year of teaching. His name is Mr. Michael Butts. Shout out to Mr. Butts if you're listening. Whenever he spoke, whenever he did things, I just always followed him because he practiced that law of influence. He said what he meant and he meant what he said. He had characteristics that were transferable, that he had characteristics that were, universal, right? He was a man of Christ. And so, I considered him to be a mentor. And he told me this awesome story. I can't remember where they had moved to. It was somewhere in the northeast. So I'll say somewhere like, northeast, East Coast area. And, he talked, it was a lot of, rhetoric, a lot of Confederate mindset kind of thing going on there. And a lot of his students felt a certain type of way about Black people. And I think he was teaching about the time, like 5th, 6th grade. And, he told me about the changes that those kids experience by having an actual Black teacher teach them. And he said, he's like, a lot of those things those kids had thought about me or about Black people in general kind of went out the window after, X amount of time with me. Go ahead, Festus.
No, I was going to say that's powerful. It just comes to coming in contact with people, coming in contact with people and actually having conversation with them versus going based off of just what you heard or what you've seen on TV or what you heard in a song or what.
Or those narratives that have been built, right? And one thing I've got to give my parents kudos for, when I look back at it, I still don't know how my parents ended up in the Spring Branch area. I still don't know how they ended up in the Spring Branch area. I think they may have had a friend who lived here. For a while, I thought that we were the only Nigerians that lived in Spring Branch because the majority of Nigerians lived in the Southwest side. They lived in what is now A-Leaf. They lived in a little bit north. Where were y'all before Festus? Y'all West Airport area? Where was that?
Yeah, most Nigerians are A-Leaf, West Airport, Fondren.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that area. Yeah. And so whenever we would go to like family friends, we'd be coming to the west side and we had to go all the way back. But until eventually, my parents were like, all right, let's go join them, I guess. I don't know why they didn't say that, but our experience was so different. We grew up in a primarily Hispanic area, so a lot of my friends that I went to school with, that I rode the bus with, I got in trouble one day because I was supposed to go to daycare, but I went to my friend Emmanuel's house and it was the first time I had like authentic Mexican food made for me.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole once again. These days, many families are busy, but want personalized attention. We at Laddering Your Success understand this dilemma and have created a unique approach to help guide you and your child with personal development tools to build a life of purpose. This intimate approach is helpful for those parents that feel the need to have a focused heart-to-heart conversation deciding on the next steps after high school. We provide individual post-secondary planning, virtual customized college and career counseling, and scholarship guidance and planning. Our one-on-one sessions are tailored to each individual student to maximize their potential in the post-secondary realm. With our guidance, your child will be able to make their dreams a reality. Don't wait. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to business on this podcast.
Oh, bro, I was like, I ain't never going back to daycare. Man, that little chips and sandwich ain't cutting it. This is where it's at. You know what I mean? Of course, I got in trouble because I didn't.
Bro, you skipped daycare?
I skipped daycare. 4th grade. I'll never forget it. I skipped daycare because we had a project. We had an ocean life project that we had to do, and it was our only time to get it done. And apparently, I thought I was a grown man. I was like, hey, Manuel, I'm coming over. We're going to finish that project today. And the bus came and everything. I was like, nah, we good. I got a project. You can only imagine my parents calling everybody. My parents are panicking. And they ended up called the house, his house, and his mom was like, do you go to daycare? I was like, yeah, I go to daycare. I'm more nonchalant about this, by the way. I'm like, yeah, I go to daycare. And she was like, "Oh, you didn't tell them or your parents?" And it started to click back. I was like, "You're 9. You're 9 years old. You need to tell people things."
You was wilding at the time, bro. You was wilding.
Oh, I was wilding, man. I was wilding, man. I remember, man. I came back home. My dad was just sitting. You know how when you walk in that house and your dad's like this, and your mom's, your mom's she got a little frazzled look on her face, and you come in looking all goofy, like hey. It wasn't good. Luckily, they just yelled at me. I didn't get it too bad. But you mentioned something, Festus, earlier about telling those kids at the youth group, if you don't want what we're doing, you don't have to come. And I remember the year when we were doing that boys club at the school, the whole point of the club was to get, the boys, to get them out of in-school suspension, right? We didn't want them in the sack. We didn't want them getting suspended. We didn't want them in trouble with their teachers, this, that, and the third. And so there was a student who just didn't figure it out. He kept acting up. He kept acting up. I and other teachers would talk to him, and his teacher would come and was like, "Yo, what's going on?" And that's the thing about one of these groups at the schools. If you have one of these groups at the schools and there's a character or behavior element to it, the teachers are going to be quick to it. They're going to be quick to be like, "Isn't he in your group? We're teaching you how to be a better young man. It's not working." And it's like, look, all right, we can only do so much, So I remember coming into the classroom and I told him, I said, "Hey, what's going on? You still acting like this? We talked about this like 2 weeks ago. And then we talked about it last week. You still doing this?" And they were trying to they knew the type of person I was. I was like, if he acting up, he going home. He's not going to stay in the group. And they were like, "Well, maybe we should give him another chance." I was like, how many? No, go home. I was like, get out, go home. And they're like, really? And well, let me not get off the soapbox, because that's their whole, we're going to keep, you send a kid to the principal, come back with a lollipop. Kid didn't learn anything. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, just wanted to talk about those things, about the importance of understanding that people may see you a certain type of way, but you can't let that change who you are as a person, and sticking to your values, right? That's the B portion in Be No Do. So what I want to do now is I want us to go through some stories. I want us to think about your first mentor, either your first mentor or the first time you mentored someone. I know we got a lot. We got a lot of great mentors who've helped us throughout the years. So while you're thinking, or unless anyone got their first mentor or the first time they mentored someone, and just go ahead, Hill.
I'm just over here tripping off how you told the bus driver to go on still, man. Like, I know we didn't change topics, but how the 9-year-old gonna look at the bus and say, "Nah, bro, I'm good. Go on about your business there." That there changed my life. Just now.
But knowing me, doesn't that kind of make sense?
Bro, he on a whole different level now, bro. Sharaki was a thug. How you gonna scare a 40-year-old bus driver? Like, "Man, I ain't get on your bus. You go about your business, my guy." That right there, my guy, that right there is life-changing. But now, I actually want to hear people talk about mentors, bro, because I always hear y'all talk about mentors and how people sit y'all down and talk to y'all, or like for a while, like week by week and this by this, and y'all have conversations. And I'd be like, "Bro, I never had that." Like, I never had people sit down. My one cousin who was wild. When I stayed with him, he talked to me, but he'd be like, "Hey, you can't judge people. Boo, maybe that was my only mentor." But I've never had, like, I always hear y'all talk about like how does that even really affect you? Because like I can't imagine having somebody like right now with my business. I can't imagine somebody like how Festus had, I think, like Weston, and you always talk about other people. How does that really affect you to have somebody who can actually guide you around the process? I don't have like I said, it's just me and Jesus. It's always been so. Actually, would like to hear that process, like in like detail. How does that affect you, business wise and everything, education wise and everything?
You want to go first, Ole?
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. So, man, that's powerful, Hill. What you just said. What you just said was really, really powerful, man. So I think for me, the thing comes down to like modeling and leading by example. I think as a young person, you're just naturally attracted to people. there's a little kid at church who always comes up to you and says, and wants to be held, or, it's not your kids, you're not related to it. You're not related to them. They just want to, be held. Or you have a particular uncle or auntie who, calls you their baby, and they just hold you close, not to say that they're your favorite, but you low key their favorite. I think what we do as humans is we see certain characteristics of success. And of course, success looks different to different people. So it's either characteristics of success or characteristics of what it is to be a good person, right? So when you see people who have confidence, who are honest, who are wise, who are loyal, who give good, solid counsel, and they do this thing consistently over a period of time. Once again, that's what we're talking about. That's the law of influence right there. It's just, you just see their presence kind of take control of certain situations. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you one quick example of one of my favorite mentors. He's no longer with us, but he was the president of the Houston Texans when I was an intern. His name is Jamie Roots. And when I say I was like so intimidated and shy at that time, I never really wanted to bother nobody. I always tell Festus, when I was working with the Texans, I have no problem saying it.
Hey, LYS fam, it's Ole. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that even though the cost of college can be daunting, the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook can assist you in realizing your dreams. You can identify and apply for scholarships using the information, advice, and resources in our comprehensive guide. Also, we've provided a template for a successful scholarship essay to help you stand out from the crowd. Don't allow student loan debt to control you. Get your copy of the LYS Scholarship Guide ebook right away to take charge of your destiny. Simply go to lys.com/parents to get your copy today. Now let's get back to that fire conversation.
My number one goal was to get as much free merch as I could because I was a huge Texans fan. So, hey, you need a new shirt, Ole? Yeah, shirt got dirty, man. This shirt is dirty. You know what I mean? I wanted as much free merch as I possibly get. And when I got hired, the HR person, shout out to Miss Jeanette, she was awesome. She said, you're gonna love our president. You're gonna love Jamie. He is so positive. He's so positively focused. And she wasn't lying. He was like just positive all the time, 100% positive. And he said hi to everybody. The way he treated me, you would have thought I was an employee getting paid however much. You would have thought I was, just a regular employee, but I was an intern. Granted, he may have not known who I was at the time, but, he still treated everyone with that same level of respect. And so what I did with Jamie is I watched Jamie. I just watched how he operated. I watched how he talked. I watched how he talked to his secretary. I watched how he talked in interviews. I watched how he talked to employees. I watched how he conducted meetings. I saw how he dealt, with just different people in different situations. And I just learned so much just by watching him. And so it was through one of his connections that I was able to get my first job out after the internship. So it was through him I was able to get that. And I'll never forget the secretary for the accounting department, Ms. Cheryl. Shout out to Ms. Cheryl. She was amazing. She's amazing. Man, she did so much for me on my last day. She made like this poster with pictures. She found stories about me from like when I was in college, when I was like the president of the Financial Management Association. She did this whole thing at the Bible study. And I was just like, man, that's so crazy. She, they did all these things. And she had music playing, and which is real because the accounting department is not a fun department. All right. It's not the department where all the fun stuff happens. There's lots of spreadsheets and codes going in. So they're like, something's going on. So Jamie comes out and he's like, hey, man. Hey, bud, I heard you got the job, man. Congrats, man. Come on, let me talk to you real quick. And so, he called me in his office and I was like, oh, I could have go to Jamie's office. So he let me in the office and he was like, man, yeah, congratulations, man. So how was your time here with the Texans? Asking someone who grew up a Texans fan, how was their experience with the Texans is like asking, I don't know. Asking a Yankees fan, how does it feel to be like, to be given like tickets for life? Like you're just super excited. And I was just like, Jamie, I've loved every experience, every moment. I've loved it all. He asked me, what was your favorite moment? What was your favorite moment here with the Texans? And I told him the story of when I was actually in the tunnel when JJ Watt caught right before halftime, JJ Watt caught a pass from Andy Dalton and took it and ran it in for a touchdown. He had a pick six, like live in the game. And I was standing right at the tunnel, live as it happened on the stadium floor. And I was jumping so high, my head almost hit the awning of the tunnel. So much so that one of the NFL officials came up to me and looked at my badge. He was like, "Who are you?" We're like, "What are you doing here?" Because he sees some dude just jumping, like I'm like, just jumping as high as I can, as high as I can. And he was like, "Oh man, that's amazing. That's amazing." So he just told me how proud he was and everything like that. And I actually saw him a year after that at a team event, and I just told him thank you so much for everything. I had left that job and started a new job, and he was like, "How's it going over there at the job?" I was like, "I'm not there anymore." He's like, "Okay, that's good." Like, "What are you doing now?" So I told him about my new job, and I asked him for some guidance as far as finding, your talents, where do you fit in everything. And he gave me a book that I still have, and it's called "What Color Is Your Parachute?" And that was the book. He said that's a really good book to just help you figure out. It's basically about different parachutes and colors, and helps you figure out like your values, your skills, your talents, your abilities, and where you kind of fit in everything. And so that's just a quick example of like one of my favorite mentors. That was like my first like adult after graduation. Oh, this person, like you hang around this person, you're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? So rest in peace to Jamie Roots, man.
That's a powerful story, and I could hear the passion and also the just experience in your voice, man. Of that relationship. That's really, really powerful. Yeah, I think from my perspective, one of my first mentors was when I was delivering pizza. I got my first little job at this place called Sicily Pizza, and one of the delivery drivers was a Vietnamese guy, and he was probably in his 20s, maybe 30s. Guy was brilliant, and so basically, when we sat around and there was no orders, we used to play this game where I would punch numbers in the calculator, and do math in the calculator, and he would guess the numbers before, I could I hit the enter. He would guess. Well, and it wouldn't even be a guess. He'd be right all the time. I'd be like 892 times 36 and a half, and he just bow, and he just get it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, golly, this was amazing. And so yeah, that just led to a mentorship relationship where I would just ride around with him, and we go to little taquerias and spend time together. So there was that. That was before I joined the military. Then when I joined the military, just watching how some of the older guys moved around, you know what I mean? And so some of these weren't formal mentorship in terms of like, hey, I'm gonna mentor you, you're gonna mentor me. It was just like, hey, you just kind of living life with people, but by the time you you sit down, you eating together, you having a conversation, and then it's like, okay, well, fast forward, I think there are some mentorship relationships that you can have now to where, like, for example, with Wes, when we started out, it was, he was a business that helped startups start up. And so, he charged a monthly fee and we did mentorship. And, that's still kind of the case. But because of our relationship and our vision and what we were trying to work on, the relationship grew deeper than, financial exchange or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with similar thing with Cleo. Shout out to Cleo. So to me, there's mentorship in a number of different, facets. Another one of my mentors was Mr. Rahman. He was the owner of a place called Wing Zone. And shout out to Wing Zone. Wing Zone's no longer in Houston, but this was one of my first. I thought it was a real job. I was getting paid like $6 an hour, to be a cook at Wing Zone. And so I'm like, oh man. And it worked out perfect because it it was probably about 2 or 3 miles from the schools, the high schools, and it opened up at, I think, 4 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock. So basically, I could get out of school, walk down there, or catch a bus down there, and then start working. You know what I'm saying? And so it's funny, but just over time, I was one of those people. I show up to work, I do my job or whatever, and the owner just needed, I guess, people he could depend on, because you got people who leave and quit, people who don't show up for their shifts, and when you're one of those guys, man, you're here all the time. Then it's just like, okay, you start small conversation, and that small conversation went to a point where sometimes he had a son that we were around the same age. He would treat me better than his own son. Sometimes he would be like, Festus, I'm going out to eat. I'm going over here. I'm getting a steak. What do you want? And I'd be like, to me, I'm a little kid from the hood. So I'm like, I was probably 18, 17, 18. And I'd be like, oh man, let me just get the cheapest thing on the menu. He, nah, get you some. You know what I'm saying? So, oh, okay. Let me get me a little something, you know what I'm saying? And then his son would be like, oh yeah, Dad, can you get me? And he would turn to his son and be like, you got your own money. And he would just leave, and it'd be like, dang, you know what I mean? But then his son would start hating on me when he gone, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing, so talking that noise. But then it's interesting, because the more, I got to know him, and then I started getting my friends' jobs at that location and other locations. And it's funny, because I think everywhere I've worked, or everything I've benefited from my friends eventually, because y'all worked at Jason's Deli with me, y'all worked at Wings with me, y'all worked at, like, everything is just like,
Fuzzies. Don't forget about Fuzzies, man.
Fuzzies. Oh God, you worked at Fuzzies too? Oh man.
No, I don't.
It just meant to. Okay, yeah. But yeah, man, and so it's really funny, because these like little informal things, because you're there consistently, and you start picking brains, you start asking and answering questions. And then it just, people just start saying, oh, you're a nice guy. And then, you start to benefit from that. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing I think that is missing now in a lot of relationships, is like just the ability to go back and forth. You know what I mean? And it was hard, even leaving Wing Zone. At that point, he was like, he kept encouraging me, go to school, go to school, go to school. Well, going to school meant leaving here. And it was like, that was bittersweet, because he was like, look, man, I'm glad you're going on to do different things. But even at that time, that was a whole shebang, and that's one thing. And let me just end on this note. But when you have relationships with somebody, and the relationship is coming to an end, try to put a rainbow on it, or not a rainbow, just a ribbon on it, not a rainbow, but a ribbon. And what do I mean by that is, when you wrap up a gift, when it has a ribbon on it, it's extra special. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody could kind of wrap a gift and put the edges and do the nice, but when you put that little ribbon on there, for some reason, it kicks it up a notch, and it says that thing is closed. And I'm gonna be honest, in some relationships, I didn't close them out well. You know what I mean? You end on bad terms, or you end on terms less than cool. And I think that's something we need to learn, is like, everybody we're in a relationship with, it's a season. I know this is hard and this is heavy, but it's like, we came into the world alone. We're going to leave alone. And so in that time, that doesn't mean that, well, when I break relationship with this person, or this time with this person's over, it needs to be us, being aggressive, bumping heads. Sometimes it can, we should strive to make it, what's the word? Amicable. Hey, listen, such and such, my time here is up. Or, hey, listen, I really enjoyed us spending time together, but this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm working on now. How can we, you know what I mean? And you just end it well, because you never know, later on down the line, you might need that person, or or that person might need you. And then it's like, oh man, I want to pick up the phone when they call, or I want to answer that. You know what I'm saying? And it's really, really, really interesting, because, and again, this is just me. I either fool with you and I love you, I'll give you everything, or I just don't. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the kind of person, I don't walk around with like a lot of animosity, but you have to remember when people do you dirt. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, if I'm loving and caring towards you, and then you're willing to do me dirt, then that means for some reason there was some envy in that relationship. There was something off in that relationship. And so to me, if that's the way we're gonna play it, then let's play it all the way. You know what I'm saying? So that I don't know. It's an ending thought, but
No, absolutely. In the book, Laddering Your Success, written by Festus Moye, you talk about transitional relationships. And I think that's kind of what you just described there. Relationship that you have as you move on from one particular portion of your life to another, right?
I should be quoting the book. I should be quoting. I love.
I'm not only a fan, I'm a member too.
Olay's mind is a steel trap.
So I think for me, that is a true sign of maturity, right? When you're able to, like you said, put the ribbon on it, put the bow on it. And one of the things I also thought about was within the first couple of chapters of the book, we have a list. I will achieve this goal by, I will achieve the goal of becoming a blah, blah, blah by doing this, this, this. I will be mentored by this particular person, and I will give back to that person by doing this, that, or that. You know what I mean? And so I think that's beautiful. Whether you put the bow or not, right? Because that, like I said, it comes with maturity for you to know to do that. You can always go back and say, hey, just checking on you, just wanted to say, see if everything's going all right. Just wanted to say thank you for all your help. You got anything going on that you might need help with? I don't think that'll hurt. I don't think that'll hurt at all, to show your appreciation for what that person has done for you. And one thing I thought of as you were talking, Festus, is this, and we can close with this. Sometimes mentors see themselves in mentees. Sometimes mentees see where they want to be in mentors. And so I thought about that when you're talking about Mr. Rahman and sometimes those mentees, those younger folks that see us, they see something in particular in us that they want to achieve. I always tell you, it's a good burden. It's not a bad burden when Wes and Cleo are like, yeah, man, let's go hang out and do this. What they see something in us. What is it they see in us that we may not be seeing in ourselves, right? So just some good things to think about, some things to hold true to if you're a mentor, and some things to look for if you're looking for that person in a mentor, right? Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Edge Steps. Before I end, Crawford Hill, did y'all have anything y'all wanted to drop in? Any additional bows?
Yeah, man, just one more thing. Bus drivers, do not be discouraged of 9-year-old kids. They all love you still. God bless.
Oh, gosh. Man, yeah, I got some stories, man. When they come back, that one came back. I always thought about it. I hadn't thought about it in a while. That was a crazy time, man. Yeah. All right, man. Anything, Crawford, you good? All right. Professors, go ahead and close this out, man.
So listen up, y'all. We need y'all to go ahead and hit that like button, hit that follow button, and then hit the share button for somebody who needs to hear this. Listen, we're grateful for the opportunity to just be a blessing to the community. But we need y'all to bless us back by showing us some love, hitting the like, follow, and share button. So as we always say, listen, there are legitimate excuses for not going to college. There's no legitimate excuse for not having an education. This is Edu Steps, powered by Laddering Your Success, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Oh, you're still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.